Morning, Leonard. I was wondering, with the game being switched and the opponent being different, does it change the prep for it, or is it sort of something that you guys sort of expected, projected? You know what you're expecting from Pitt and so on. Just sort of what the process is for you guys as you prepare for your next opponent.
This is need. This is you. I've said a couple weeks ago, you have to prepare yourself for the unexpected. We started preparing our guys last March when we had the shutdown, and you got to be fluid. You got you got to be prepared for those things that maybe might be out of out of rhythm. If Virginia Tech was not going to be able to come and play, it was obvious that we are going to have to go on the road and play somebody, and doesn't really matter who it is. You got to go do it. Doesn't matter. It doesn't necessarily change how we prepare because each coach, each one of my assistant coaches will have, let's say, a normal year, 10 teams apiece. So they're always preparing in advance. And we thought we were going to play Pittsburgh on two other occasions. It's Coach Jones' preparation. So I'm sure he had already done basically two almost done scouting reports. I'm sure he'll go back over the real latest games. We thought we were going to play them last week. So we were preparing. The one thing good about our defensive system is that we don't really make that many types of adjustments in what we do. We put some emphasis maybe on being a little sharper on certain things, like they're a really good offensive rebounding team, or some teams a little bit more transition teams. And so you put emphasis on those areas, but it's not like what we're supposed to be doing anyway. We just maybe might point out the strengths of a team in relation to us being more emphasis on our defensive schemes in relation to what they do offensively, and vice versa. On the one team might play a little more zone, so we might put a little more emphasis on our zone system that particular week. But offensively, we kind of who we are. We feel comfortable with the things we have in our schemes. We might tweak it once in a while, but for the most part, we going to execute what we believe works for who we are and the skills that we have on our team. And many times we kind of over prepare. We have two or three things: plan A, plan B, plan C, and maybe even a plan D. But if we are playing the way we want to play within who we are and the system that we have in place, we very seldom ever get to those things. So my point to you is that this time of year, I think the team's going to be successful in relation to the ones who will come as close as they can to being who they are the best. In other words, I'm not real sure I'm going to change that much. I'm not real sure they're going to change that much. And so we have to execute, come as close as we can to being efficient in relation to who we think we are, and they're going to do the same thing. Now, it might be a little different. Somebody might go say, I'm going to play a little zone here, or I'm going to do something a little different. But for the most part, I say 95% this time of year, they can kind of predict who we are. We can kind of predict who they are. And so it's not, it doesn't create the type of challenges that maybe you might think. Now, individually, certain teams have players who might be capable of going out and doing things like the kid from Wake Forest the other night. He goes 7 or 8 from 3. Well, I don't know if there have been very many kids in the country all year long that come off the bench and gone 7 or 8 from 3-point. Even though he's a good shooter, that was a phenomenon. Sometimes it's hard to prepare for that, And within our system, we try to, the way we play, we try to make it difficult for anyone to key on anyone because we have different guys stepping up each night. So that's a long answer, but I hope I was thorough enough so you understand how we look at it.
Go to Antoine Staley.
Hey, Coach, just wanted to get your thoughts on Pittsburgh and also.
You're not going to ask me about slow starts, huh?
Just focus on Pittsburgh and try to slow down a guy like Justin Champagnie.
Well, I wish we only had to worry about Sam Penny. I mean, that guy Johnson is just as lethal. Horton is unbelievable shooter. They're a good basketball team, and Champagnie has gotten a lot of recognition because he's averaging, I guess, close to a double-double. I mean, he's almost come out of nowhere in terms of how he's just kind of blown up during the year. Now, I don't know, is that his twin brother that plays for St. John, or that just his brother? Does anyone know?
I think it's just his brother.
Okay, wow. He comes from, they come from a strong basketball family. I think his brother might be one of the best players on St. John's team. He just has that it factor. He's only 6'6", and he's one of the best rebounders in the country. And he shoots threes. He athletic enough to hold on a second. You guys make me hot. Gotta turn this fan on. I get nervous when Antoine started asking me questions. You want to know about how slow stars make me nervous, so I start warming up. Gotta turn the fan on when I talk to him. There are a team that has played outstanding basketball, and they've had different guys step up similar to us. He has that second and third jump that's almost as good as his first one. He shoots the threes. He drives to the basket. He finishes left. He finishes with his right hand. He's a handful, and they kind of play out of him. But if you notice around the league, though, you know, everybody has guys on the team that if you concentrate on one particular guy, it seems as though other guys are always being able to step up and hurt you. This guy Johnson is a bigger version of the little kid from Virginia. I mean, he has. I don't know if there's anybody in the country any faster and quicker and more athletic than this guy Johnson. I mean, it's almost like I was telling our team the other day. It's almost virtually impossible to run with him. You know, I mean, and he creates so many different things for the team. And when they're on and shooting threes and Johnson penetrating and Champagnie is kind of floating around, they become very, very dangerous. This is a team that we know they're going to be hungry. I think they might have fallen one game below 500. They looked like they were on their way to the NCAA bid there at some point in the season. So we realized that Champagnie is going to be very focused along with the entire team. I don't know if I've been on teams with a guy that averages a double-double. I mean, that's a rarity. And that's a unique skill, energy, not a gift for knowing where the ball's going to be. He has a special gift. So we know we got to contain him. But when you averaging that means that no one's been able to handle you. No one's been able to keep you from doing that. I mean, so in a bad game, I mean, it's like it's almost impossible for him not to get 10 rebounds. And so what makes him special? Well, he's special. That's what makes him special. He's got a special knack, a gift, instinct of how to read where the ball's going to be in relation to where it was shot from. He just got a God-given gift of anticipation that makes him a handful, and we're going to give him all the attention that he deserves and respect.
Go to Kurt Weiler.
Hey, Coach, with this the schedule change, obviously, and I think 4 of the last 5 regular season games now are on the road. I think that's more road games than y'all have played all year. I know you bring back a number of guys, but is there a sense of maybe good of playing so many road games to get more comfortable before a stretch of the season and the postseason where everything's going to kind of be away from home at those neutral sites?
Well, this has been a different year, and how many games you play on the road, how many you play at home is almost something you can't even allow yourself to even get into a real conversation about, because this is a unique, special year. So we played a lot of games at home. We tried to go on the road. We've had some games canceled, and here, all of a sudden now 4 of our last 5 games will be on the road. It's one of those things where you just gotta say, we can't allow anything to break our concentration right now. We can't let any circumstances deter us, distract us. If we'd had to play the game with no preparation, one day turn around, or travel the day of the game, you just got to do what is necessary for us to get through this year and try to be as positive as we can, try to keep getting better. We keep saying, let's worry about that which we can control and prepare ourselves for the unexpected. And that's Kirk, that's the mindset we're trying to go into. I'm trying to eliminate any pity parties. I'm trying to eliminate any room for anyone's, woe me. Let's just deal with this. Some other people are going to have circumstances very similar. It's very interesting. We finished the game the other night thinking we was going to play it at home, and that's not happening. Now we're going on the road. We're watching, everybody's locked into the game last night. We're scrambling. As soon as I get off the call with you, I'm going to crank it back up and try to, make sure I understand a little bit more. Stan now would have 2 games back to back, Virginia and Pittsburgh. We had the debrief yesterday from the Virginia game, and then we had to start into our preparation for Pittsburgh. It was not always easy, but that was what we had to do. That's the hand that's dealt to us. And in order for us to have some opportunities after the end of the season that we think is worthy of giving us the best route to having some success, we got to be prepared for it. So, Kirk, this is one of those things. Let's just go get it done. Let's see what happens.
Go to Irish Chaffel.
Hey, Coach, I just did a little Google research. They are twins, by the way, the two kids. After the Virginia game the other night, you mentioned that it shouldn't have to be Big Monday. It shouldn't have to be Virginia to bring that effort and execution and energy. Is there anything you can help the team with, the guys with, other than just talking about it, to help them have that mindset no matter who you're playing and no matter what the venue is?
I'm not real sure that they haven't heard that 1,000 times. As a kid growing up, I used to get sick and tired of my father leaning over on the banister saying the same thing to me all the time about what I should do, what I shouldn't do. And I'd be trying to be respectful, and I'm listening, saying, does he know he told me this last week? He's telling me the same thing over and over again. I can just see it like it was yesterday. Out on the porch, him leaning over, I'm standing there saying, here it come again, over and over again, about how to conduct myself, how to avoid certain things. And I remember being in my dorm room at UT Martin shortly after I've gotten there. And it was on a weekend, on a Friday, and the place was just going wild. And kids were just all over the place and doing this and doing that. And then when I realized how important it was for him to keep telling me the same thing over and over and over. And so I adhere to that philosophy. You know, even though I said it, yes, I did say it in the locker room after the game, but they've heard it over and over and over. The most challenging thing is when you're working with young people is to get them to be at their very best mentally, emotionally, and physically on a consistent basis all the time. That's a unique gift. Some people, everybody don't have it. And when you have kids, 19 kids from 19 different backgrounds, you know, who got influences in the social media and Uncle Charlie and Aunt so-and-so, and everybody's trying to tell them how to get to the place that, you know, it becomes distracting to them. So we just keep hammering it. And after the game the other day is I was happy, but in the locker room, you know, I had to say, you know, we can't let Big Monday, #1 team that's won the national title, be what motivates us to be the best of who we are. We have, in order for the great teams, find a way to be at that level all the time, and that's the challenge that we have to meet. Try to make sure that we reach our fullest potential on a consistent basis, and that's not easy, you know. And I mean, it was obvious that we were mentally all engaged. You could just see it and feel it. But then once again, we had a dip. We had a dip coming out the second half. And that just showed, now it was only like a 3-4 minute dip there. We call it first timeout. But we re-energized ourselves. But why did we have that dip? That's human nature, you know? So we have to, you're always fighting it. You're fighting that human nature, you know? So that's the challenge, but I feel that this team, though, is trying. I think that as much as any of the teams that we've had, I don't feel like there's anything distracting us. I think everyone is just trying their best to get us to that, what we call that magic level. And it's an ongoing process. My method is doing just like Big John did for me. Just keep throwing it at him, keep hammering it, keep giving it to him. I try to find different ways to say the same thing over and over and over. We try to be consistent in how we hold them accountable in practice. And we really try to make it a possession by possession teaching point where we don't have the dips because we stay focused on all the little things that we can control. I mean, I'm just trying to be as thorough as I can so you understand that's challenging and it's not always easy. And fans, and sometimes you guys in the media, you know, when a guy has been consistent doing something and he has a dip, you know, we want to know what's going on. Well, they call that being a human being.
Next question for Bob Ferrante.
Coach, good morning. Curious with MJ Walker, obviously he's coming up on 1,000 career points, but maybe beyond the scoring, what have you seen in his evolution, maturity as far as a leader, a guy who's, you know, producing assists and doing just all the things on the court that you're looking for?
Okay, now say that again. I got distracted.
That's all right. With MJ, beyond the scoring and the points, the leadership, the maturity is kind of evolution as far as a defender, passer, what he kind of brings to you in all different ways.
That's a very good question in relation to what Ira just asked me. MJ has in basketball, I guess the word is vernacular, how you evaluate. He has that warrior focus mentality. You know, MJ is always locked in. He doesn't have as many highs and lows in terms of his mentality and his focus as some guys have. Now, he doesn't always sometimes perform well, but it's not because he's not always locked in mentally. He might make a mistake or turn the ball over and not make a basket, but it's not because he's not coming as close as he can physically and mentally and emotionally being locked in. Sometimes he might, you know, just make a poor decision. He represents that warrior mentality that you like in sports, where you know what you're gonna get from him. You know, defensively, running the floor, fighting, being tough, and it has shown up in his whole career. I remember even as freshman, he could go in the game during critical moments and make big shots. And when you think back about his career, I mean, he turned an ankle in one of the games, I don't know if it was Louisville or Syracuse last year. I mean, he goes to the locker room, he comes back, and it's a nip and tuck game, and he walks right out in the court, bam, bam, bam. I mean, he goes into the locker room, and he has like 9 or 10 stitches in his lip, you know, and he has that ability to come back out, I mean, in critical parts of the game, and bow, bow, bow. I mean, you have to understand what level of focus that you have to have. You have to have 10, 11, it might have been 12 stitches he had inside his mouth. But he walks back out of the basketball court and produces. I mean, that's just, that says a little bit about what he is inside, and that manifests itself and comes through in his leadership, you know. And sometimes he has a little bite to his tone and to his way of communicating with his players, but that's the passion that he has inside of him that makes him unique and special. And I think he's going to be playing basketball for a long time, because he represents that guy, you know, that you know you're going to get his very, very best all the time. And that represents in his leadership. You know, sometimes he can not always be as patient as he should be, but you know where his passion is. And he never offends anybody, because you know if he's going to talk it, he's going to walk it. You know, and I always use the analogy, which might not be proper for me to say with you guys, but I know you guys, you know, like to hear the truth. I always say, if a fight break out, MJ is the guy you want on the other side. You know, if he got your back, you know he's not going to fall till you fall. And sometimes those are kind of coaching terminologies you use, because everybody using the term, you know, we got to go out and be fighters, we got to go out and give it up, we got to go out and do it all that energy. It's not like you want to go out and physically get in a fist fight, but you want to fight with your emotions and your effort. MJ is the kind of guy you want on the other side. You want him on your back, because you know what you're going to get from him.
Go to Tom D'Angelo from Palm Beach Post.
Hey, Leonard, good to see you again.
Long time no see, my brother.
Yeah. And I apologize if you've heard some of these questions before on Scotty Barnes, and I'm sure you have, but when you guys were evaluating him, what did you see that made you believe he could be a point guard, a facilitator at this level? What did you see as he was, whenever, I'm assuming you saw him as a sophomore or a junior or in high school? What were those traits?
Well, I saw it and I kept it to myself until the recruiting visit. I didn't want anybody else to start looking for what I already felt comfortable with that would work. I think point guard is his best position. And when you see him play as a high school kid, and you see an athletic, hard-nosed, tough, physical guy who loves contact, who can rebound and drive, but what you saw that part of him. But what I saw was a high IQ basketball player, a guy who had the ability to make everybody around him better. I saw an unselfish spirit that I thought would give him a chance to even enhance his basketball IQ. He had ball handling skills, dribbling and passing skills. I thought that was unique for a guy of his size. And I thought that it would give him a unique skill set with his size, his athleticism, his quickness, and his speed to be different than people who look like him in terms of his physical attributes. and I thought it would give him a category that will give him more opportunity to enhance who I thought he could be. In other words, his versatility, physically, I thought was unique, but I also thought his basketball IQ and his feel for the game made it even enhance the opportunity for him to utilize his physical skills even better. And the unique thing about Scotty is that not only does he know what he's had to learn going from a power forward to a point guard at this level, a team that's moving in the direction we're going to speaks volumes. In other words, the adjustment that he's making, he's had to make more of an adjustment than anybody in America. Most guys who are playing point guard at this level on a national ranked team, they've been playing point guard since they was in the 8th grade. And for him to make that transition from power forward to point guard at this level, to you guys, it seemed like it's seamless. But the best thing about where he is now, even though it looks like it's moving in the right direction, is that he still has a tremendous room for growth, because the instincts that you have to be able to like the one pass he made the other night when he was coming off a ball screen on the right side of the floor and made a hook pass all the way over to the other side of the floor, because he read that the guy who was defending, I think Sardar, had rotated all the way over to the midline, and he skipped it with a hook pass all the way over there on a rope to made it almost virtually impossible for the guy who was playing, giving weak side help to get back to the shooter. That's unique. That's a point guard skill, being able to see the whole floor. And the unique thing about him, not only is he learning what he's supposed to do, he can tell other players in other positions. That's a unique skill too. He's learning. His best basketball is ahead of him. And if somebody is smart enough to understand that he's in the transition period and he's doing pretty good, and he got that, he has that speed and quickness that if you don't get back on him, he can, on a rebound, he can lay it up on the other end before you can get back. And we all know that he's improving his perimeter shooting tremendously, and there's so much more upside, which makes him unique. I mean, just in terms of his potential growth. And when you evaluate people at this stage of development, you know, you have to be able to anticipate, not where, when you evaluate him, you can't say where he is, you have to be able to anticipate where you think he can become. And if those guys, when I evaluate him, you know, I know his future is very bright. He turned his ankle, and he didn't have a strain or a pull, but he had a little, I guess you might say, a strain. And so now what we're doing, he needs to be really warm before he goes on the court. So he's not starting the first 2 minutes of the game. He's on that bicycle getting warmed up, and I think it's really helped him for a couple of minutes, just kind of seeing the flow of the game and seeing how the other team's playing. And in 2 minutes, he's coming in right on point, kind of giving us a lift. You know, we play a lot of people anyway, and we've always sometimes tried to position ourselves where we're strong, just as strong coming off we want to try to maintain that level for 35, 40 minutes. I've had a couple people ask me about our starting lineup, and T, you know, I always tell them, and then when Red Auerbach was at the Boston Celtics, he won 9 straight NBA championships, I believe. Am I correct about that, Ira? Go ahead and do your Google. I think he won 9 straight.
11 of 13.
I was going to say, Tom would know that better than me. He's a Celtics guy.
Okay.
8 in a row, 11 of 13.
Okay, I'm sorry, 8 in a row.
Yep.
And he was considered a genius in how he rotated his players. I mean, John Havlicek, Hall of Famer, Don Nelson, Zach Sanders, the guy from Kansas, JoJo, Sam Jones, all those guys. He had Hall of Fame guys coming in with that second unit. And it was almost impossible to deal with him because he had the fast break thing going on. He had, when everyone else was coming with their rotation guys, he would come in with his rotation guys that really was better than the guys he had started. And so everybody thought he was a genius. But in college, everybody's saying, gosh, Fiondu Kamagela, how is he coming off the bench? Patrick Williams, what's wrong with that dumb coach down there? He don't have the 4th pick in the draft. What is wrong going on? Well, hey, I'm trying to steal everything I can from everybody who I've learned from. And I thought Red Auerbach was my ultimate guy to follow. So I think it's good that now we utilize that same philosophy, and it's unique and different than what everyone else is doing. And but nobody put me in the genius category. They still questioning my decision making. But Scotty is such a unique personality. He has infectious energy. I mean, 2 times in the game the other night, in the middle of the game, he's out there hugging.
Yes.
In other words, Polite made a jump shot. He's so enthusiastic. I mean, in the middle of the game, he's out there giving him a bear hug. And when Bossa blocked the shot, I mean, he's so excited and has such a infectious personality. That's the uniqueness about him. He'll come in for a meal and hug every player. All 18 guys here run around and hug everybody before you sit down and get ready to eat. I mean, the same thing you saw in the game the other night is what makes this guy special and why he's going to continue to keep growing, and he's going to be a plus for anybody for a long, long time. And I can't say enough about his character, his personality, his unselfish spirit. And that's another thing. To be an All-American and be capable of scoring points, to have such a unique, unselfish spirit. In other words, he's motivated and just as excited about creating a high percentage shot for his opponent as he is with dunking the ball. In other words, that excites him. I mean, that motivates him. That gets his adrenaline flowing. And that's a little different than somebody who feels that I got to get 25 points in order to validate that I'm a good player. He's a winner. He wants to win. But he's confident when the game's on the line, he'll go get you a point. He's shown that when he hit the game's in doubt, he hits an overtime, a bucket, and puts it in the overtime the other day. I mean, those are unique qualities for a freshman that sometimes is hard to mature to that point. The guy has a factor, I
was going to say, thank you. You're right about Red Auerbach, but the one guy who never came off the bench was Bill Russell.
Well, but he had that unique quality that he came off the bench when he was coaching.
That's right. Yeah.
But how many times can you have a player that's so unique that they let him coach the team and play? Wow. And Scotty's Bill Russell had that thing called it. His name should have been Bill It Russell. Well, I think Scotty Barnes is the same guy. It's Scotty It Barnes. You got that it factor that separates him.
Thank you.
And did you want to ask the last question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, Coach, if you could talk a little bit about Balsa's impact on this team and the growth you've seen from him, not just from last season to this season, but throughout this season.
Balsa has unlimited potential. Has great hands, runs the floor very well, has a nice, strong body. He has, and he, I think you're seeing him kind of grow up and develop right in front of your eyes. You're seeing block shots. You're seeing make good decisions. He has a unique skill set for a big guy. And the thing of it is, I think he's only tapped to part of his abilities in terms of, the other night he showed you that he can drive to the basket. He showed that he's been working very hard on his perimeter shooting. He has all the physical tools to be a very, very special player. And he's agile, he's coordinated. And once again, his best basketball is still ahead of him. He has a unique focus, very kind of a quiet demeanor around the coaches. I hear that he's one of the most funnest guys when he's not around us, but that's what happens with a lot of players. Balsa is really coming to his own, and the style of ball that we're playing, I just think that really fits who he is, gives him a chance to show his versatility. And I think as he goes on with his career, I think you're gonna see him grow to be one of the best centers that ever played at Florida State.
Everybody good? Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Coach.